All right. Yeah, that was pretty cool watching that. So, little clip there of our guest. Hey all, it's Paul from Drums and Rums, where the backbeats meet the spirits, episode 41. On this podcast, music producer, engineer, multi-instrumentalist, and oh yeah, a drummer too. Drums were his first love, but production is quickly taking the driver's seat. He's played with countless national acts, including the Alex Meixner Band, in which he is currently still on tours, and we'll talk a little bit about that. And also recorded with him as well, Adelphi on Drive-Thru Records. We were just chatting a little bit about that before the show started. Jedi Magic Council. I've heard of the name forever.
Carousel.
The
Jedi Magic Council. That would make sense too.
Yeah,
Jedi
I guess
Council.
maybe I've watched too many Star Wars movies, I guess. So, Carousel, Polka Family, and John Mancini Band, and Flint Blade, just to name a few. I'd like to welcome our guest to the podcast, Tommy Halla. How you doing, Tommy?
I'm all right.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So
Glad to be here.
So cheers here.
Yeah.
So
cheers to that.
yes, right. So
A
our-
Manhattan made with rum.
That's right. It's your first rum Manhattan.
First one. Hello.
All right. We lost our sound.
Hello.
Uh-oh.
Oh no.
Hello.
Oh, Vinny's watching. Lord Vincenzo. That's a
Okay.
hip hop guy that I produce.
Oh, cool. So we lost our. I can't hear us.
Are we on? Justin, are we on? Oh,
Okay. We lost monitors.
Yep.
Oh, there it
Oh,
goes.
there it is.
That's weird. Okay.
Back.
All right. Yeah. All right. Now we're
What's
back.
up, Vinny?
I don't know. Now. All right. Well, I guess if we can hear ourselves in the room, then we'll know no idea how. So all right. Monitors went again. Anyway. All right. So we got the chat going there, and already we're getting some shout outs on the chat there. Lord
Vincenzo.
Vincenzo.
Yeah.
All right. So he's you said he's a local rapper, or
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, he lives in Jensen area. He's got 3 tracks out that I produced.
Very cool.
Just
okay.
look up that name on.
All right, well, look at that. That's a good segue. We're already starting to kind of talk a little bit about the producing part. So, so again, I learned. I know I feel so like shameless that I haven't known you before. From
It's okay.
yeah,
Florida's a big state.
that's true. That's true. Yeah. Learned after podcasting with Shanice on last month's podcast with her that up at the legendary J&C Lounge there with Brad Brock in his studio there, and they were talking after the podcast about the track that you produced for The Little Things, and also some of your music as well too. So, I guess how'd you find your way to Florida? You're from Maryland, and you're like kind of like a snowbird, but you're not old enough, I guess, to be a snowbird, right?
No, definitely not. Not yet. Someday. But snowbirding is a good idea. I mean, I see why people do it. It makes sense. Because the months of November to March, it's gorgeous down here. And now it's getting to the point where it's hot enough that I walk outside, I don't even have to move, and I start sweating. It's like, this is my least favorite time of the year coming up.
Yeah.
But how did I make my way down to Florida? So I started playing with Alex in the Alex Meixner Band
Okay.
back in, I want to say, 2014, somewhere around there.
Oh, okay.
In 2015, this guy, Sweet Butter Joe, good saxophone player around the area, he joined the band, and we became like instant friends. And he moved from Minnesota down to Florida a year before I did. And then we met in the band that year that he was living in Florida, and I was still in Baltimore, and we became best friends. And I was just at a point in my life where I was like, you know what? I want to do something different. I've lived in Baltimore my whole life. It's time to try something else. I didn't have a wife or kids or a job holding me there.
Right.
So I said, well, what the heck? I know Joe. He lives in Florida. Alex is there. I'm still playing in that band. And then within a matter of a week or two of me calling him up and saying, hey, I think I want to move to Florida, we found a spot right on the water in Fort Pierce. So I was like,
Twist my arm.
yeah, let's go. Let's try it out. And 5 years later, I'm still here.
Wow. So you met Alex while you were living in Maryland, and how'd you connect that at that time?
Polka Tinder.
Okay.
Yeah.
There we go. Hashtag Polka Tinder. That's gonna be a new one. So there's trending.
Trading on Twitter.
Yeah,
immediately.
Polka Tinder hashtag.
No, I was playing with Polka Family,
Okay.
which is a Polish polka band that started in the 70s out in California as actually a family band. And then they came over to the Pennsylvania area. And when I was a little kid, I would go to polka dances a lot. My parents met at a polka dance, so it's ingrained in me.
Right.
And Polka Family was a band that was playing at the time, and I liked all those different bands. And my childhood dream was like, I gotta play with a good polka band one day, right? So I get out of college for drums and percussion, and I was at a polka gig, and one of the guys playing with Polka Family was like, hey, do you want to play drums with Polka Family? Because we need a drummer. And I was like, yeah. Dream come true. I made it. All right, let's go. And so I was playing in that band, and then the leader of that band, Hank, was playing with Alex at the time as a sideman. And then Hank said to me, hey, Alex needs a drummer because one of his guys quit. So that's how I met Alex then, by proxy of Polka Family.
Wow. That's 7 degrees of polka bacon.
Yeah.
So something like that.
Everyone is like 1 degree from polka music. Most people.
I guess, yeah. I guess it's
somehow.
And
your grandfather had an accordion or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Especially, as a kid of the 80s growing up, especially with probably the biggest polka person for the mainstream, if you want to call it that, obviously is Weird Al, right?
Sure.
So, yeah. So, and I know Alex has got a lot of, family history he talked about, I know, on Brad's podcast about how he's been a musician and family and so forth. So that's pretty cool to be able to, obviously get references and so forth. And so you said they're college, right? So we were talking a little earlier was your college up in Maryland, went to school for music, and that was talk a little bit about that. That kind of led you into how you're applying it to things today.
Sure. It was jazz and commercial performance on drum set mainly. It was like the degree. I had gotten to a point in my life where I wanted to learn music better and know music better. I originally went to college for photography when I got out of high school.
Right.
And then I was in the band Adelphi. We got signed to a record label, and so we were all like, well, screw college, we're going to be famous. And that didn't happen. So then once that stopped, I was like, okay, time to go back to college. But now I want to go for music because I just, I want to know more about it.
Right.
It was a great experience. Towson is a amazing school for music. Good school all around. Everyone that I've ever talked to about that school says they love it. But that experience grew my knowledge of music exponentially because when I went there, I didn't even know where middle C was. Had no clue. I knew how to go budin, make that sound good. That was about it. And so that experience has enabled me to now do the production stuff and whatnot, and be able to take someone's song and say, oh, cool, here we can create this bass line, or we can add these chords, or we can do this, or,
right,
because otherwise I'd be like a fish out of water.
Right. And having a good structure and foundation of understanding the full dynamics, right, like you said, understanding all the other instruments, how they accompany or can be applied.
Yeah. Yeah, and just hearing the way, like, music moves and whatnot, especially even for just playing drums. Like, I really love, one of my favorite things to do is to play with a band or play with someone that I don't know their music. And just kind of get up at, like, open mic or something, and they're like, can you play with us? I'm like, yeah, sure. And try and make it sound like a song. Like,
right,
like an already, flushed out song
that
I know already. And try to do that. It's like it's exciting for me because you got to listen, you got to react.
Yeah, right. You got to feel what's coming, or if there's right. Yeah,
right. If you've played the song, a million times, you're thinking about the groceries that you're gonna get the next day, like dun, 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 whatever. It's kind of like dating too sometimes.
Yep. There you go. Polka Tinder Kinky. Okay.
Woo!
There you go.
All right. I never would have thought Polka Tinder would scream kinky to anyone,
yeah,
but
I don't know. Hey,
you know,
whatever you do with that accordion.
Hit me up afterwards. We'll talk. All right.
Well, that's actually my wife.
Oh, never mind. Sorry.
Whoops.
Well,
Yeah.
see you
Yeah,
later.
All right, yeah. This podcast already is off to a great start here. So she set herself up for that. She comments what,
Yeah, true.
So, I don't know. This is what happens when I'm not at home, right?
Yeah.
Monitoring, internet like, you're in North Korea or something.
Oh gosh.
So did you grow up in a musical family, or was there a lot of music? I know you mentioned that you got the pots and pans when you were 3 and kind of sorry,
Right.
but was music kind of there? Kind of, you think?
Oh yeah, music was there all the time. None of my parents didn't play music per se, and really no one in my family did. My great grandfather played the button box on my mother's side, but my mother is a hula dancer, and so she'd be playing Hawaiian music a lot. She also liked classic rock a lot and old school country, and so the Hawaiian dance also incorporates instruments. They have an ipu, which is a gourd that you hit. It's a drum, and then bamboo sticks, so same thing. So she can play stuff, and she used to play the organ, actually. We had an organ. It was probably like a Lowry organ, back in the day or something, and
Right.
she would play that. My father can sing really well, and he can make up a song out of nowhere. He can hum a song and, modulate and change keys, and I'm like, I don't know how you know how to do that, but you can do it.
Right.
A couple of years ago, I didn't force him, but pretty much forced him to get up on stage and sing because he'd always wanted to do it. And he's like, I'd like to sing one day. And I'm like, yeah, just get up with Alex and you can sing, you can do it. No, I don't. Does he have the words? I don't know. Does he know that song? And I'm like, he knows every song. He literally knows every song, ever. So he finally got up and sang "Fly Me to the Moon," and he just hammed it up. He loved it ever since. And now every time he comes, am I going to get up to sing?
Oh, now you can't. Yeah.
Yeah.
Careful what you ask for.
Yep. My uncle on my mom's side was a polka DJ, and he did recording too. He would take like a reel-to-reel or a tape player and set up a couple microphones and record bands live. So there's been little aspects of it here and there.
Right.
And my grandmother on my father's side was an opera singer.
Okay.
Or she did operettas, which are, I guess, small operas. So it's in there.
Right.
It's been in there. Yeah.
So with a lot of singing in your family, then do you sing?
I try.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm getting better. I sound better when I, can record it and then tinker
Do all
with
your
it. Put some effects on it.
Right.
Some reverb, delay.
Yeah.
Ah, nice. Sounds
Yeah,
good
wow.
now. I really like harmonies.
Right.
My favorite part of singing is trying to add a harmony to stuff, which is why I really like the little things.
Right,
I
yeah.
heard them sing and it was just like, oh yeah, those
Yeah.
harmonies.
That's yeah. I think that was we were talking about when they were on Brad's podcast, Jams and Cocktails, and they were doing they were doing a song, and Brad had commented after the song he thought there was something wrong audio wise. It's like no, they were just locked in their vocals and their harmonies. It was just crazy. So
Yeah.
yeah, so totally dig them. So yes, check them out, The Little Things, and also Shanice the drummer. So hopefully Shanice is watching. So yeah, so you talking about drumming, you went to school for it, a lot of the education there, and some of the experience you said, getting signed to a label, playing with Alex, and now when you mentioned your favorite drummer, or I guess one that's influential, that was kind of an interesting one. I don't normally hear this name, right? And
Sure. Yeah.
usually it's the Neil Peart or Bonham or something like that, right? So
Right.
so you'd mentioned John Theodore, right? So I don't know.
He's a Baltimore boy too. Actually.
So okay, there you go.
I didn't know him though, but
So that because I had to actually I know who the Queen of the Stone Age are, I know who Mars Volta is, but I don't follow them close enough to know who the members of the band are, right?
Sure.
Again, back to when you were talking earlier, it was like, what kind of music do you like, right? Oh, I like everything. Well, there's so much out
Right.
there.
Yep.
And so I guess why John Theodore?
Why John Theodore?
Besides, he's from Baltimore.
Right. Yeah. That's the only reason, actually.
Yeah. Okay. Next question.
He so when I was in the band Adelphi, it was right before I went to college for drumming, and Mars Volta dropped their first full-length album, Deloused in the Comatorium, and myself, along with my bandmates, just lost it listening to that album. Flea's on that album playing bass. Rick Rubin produced it and engineered it. So it's a killer album.
Enough said.
Top
right.
to bottom.
Right. Yeah.
But the way he played, and John Theodore is definitely highly influenced by Bonham.
Mm-hmm.
If I had to pick anyone that I think he was influenced by, it was probably Bonham. So, and then he just kind of made it his own style. He was very musical, and his touch and his feel with how he played just spoke to me. I don't the things that he did, the rhythms, the beats on that album are just something else. I mean, I would sit and try to pick apart those beats and play them, and that would be like my warm up. I'd like set up for a show, and I'd have the drum set out and be like, all right, check the drums, and I'd be like, oh, I'm gonna play this thing from Mars Volta, John Theodore. And,
Wait, I thought we were going to see a polka band.
No, this is when it was Adelphi, and it really hit harder, I think, when John Theodore left Mars Volta, and then they got Thomas Pridgeon in the band. And Thomas Pridgeon is an amazing drummer in his own right.
Right.
But for me, in how Mars Volta was playing and what they needed as a drummer, Thomas Pridgeon, to me, it was very like, how many chops can I throw all over the place?
Right.
In a way, it just
More
didn't,
more technical.
It didn't sound like he was listening to the music. It sound like, I mean, if he hears this, he's gonna he's gonna tweet me later and be like,
So, well, I guess
Polka
he's
Tender
not going to be
sucks.
coming on the podcast now.
yeah, right. Sorry. No, he is a great drummer in his own right, but the way Theodore played, it felt so much more musical and heartfelt and like just from the soul. It was a little dirty and a little gritty and a little, and the tones that he got too.
Right.
I mean, that's a big part of any music for me. Like personally, I'm not a huge metal fan. I enjoy it and I like what they're playing to a certain degree. They're technically amazing, but the tones they use for me just it's not what my ears want to hear.
Right.
So like there's a group, Rodrigo y Gabriela. I don't know if you've heard of them. I think they're brother and sister. They now play acoustic guitars. They used to play metal music, and then they just kind of translated that over to playing with acoustic guitars, and they're doing the same stuff, but with acoustic guitars and adding like some flamenco Spanish influence in there, and it just now I love it just because of the tones.
They've taken something and kind of totally changed a feel of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Theodore too, his tones that he used, the cymbals that he picked, the way the toms sounded, the snare drum. I'm sure he used a supraphonic or some Ludwig. So yeah, I guess those reasons.
So when he you joined the Queens of the Stone Age, do you think the Queens of the Stone Age should change? Now again, this is tough because Queens of the Stone Age has been around, I know, for many, many years, and there's a Dave Grohl aspect of that band and and so forth. When he went to Queens of Stone Age, do you think that transpired into the Queens of Stone Age with him drumming, bringing that same feel, or was it a little different because, again, maybe it's the style, the music, or it's a different, did it kind of carry over that what you're describing about him?
Sure. Yeah, I mean he'll always keep that his own feel no matter what he does. I mean, and that's what I would do too in drumming. I mean, I would adapt to what the band needs, but it's still going to be my own take and my own flavor on what I think the band needs as well. Otherwise, you're not going to be in the band. I'm not going to be in a band if they're just sitting there and telling me like exactly what to do. Don't play like that. You need to sound like this, unless they're throwing me $1 million. They're paying me a lot of money. Sure, okay, maybe I'll just do whatever you want me to.
yeah. I mean, that's the whole thing about music, right? Is that, it's a passion, it's a love, it's creativity, it's you got to have your heart in it. And yeah, to your point is, if you're going to pay you $1 million to tell me what to do, is it a job? Is it, am I really, then you're not, you're into it as much as you can be, I guess, at that point, if you're not, to your point.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think that's pretty interesting. So yeah, as you mentioned, and when I was looking up a little bit more about John, I guess it was mentioned that he was influenced by Bill Cobham. So again, there's that relationship with Bonham. So so you're getting ready to head out on the road here. So I guess tomorrow your
tomorrow night
bags are packed and
no, never. I am a procrastinator. Yeah. They'll be packed tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
we leave at 2:30 a.m. So
you'll be packed by 2:15.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah, I'll be finishing up. I have an album to master tomorrow. It's already started, so I got stuff dialed in. Just needs to be finished. Yeah, and then we'll head out, and we head straight up to Indiana.
Okay.
So we'll drive through the night. I've probably got one of the first shifts. I'd rather drive at night than during the day. I don't know. My body just likes that better. I get some Rev Gum. Have you heard of Rev Gum?
No.
Rev Gum is amazing.
Okay.
It's this caffeine gum, and somehow it hits you better than coffee, like in a sublingual level or something,
Okay.
and it jolts you. Ask if you have. I don't know that you would ever have Xander on the podcast.
Right.
Brad did, but
yeah.
him and I were driving up to New York last year because we actually, Xander, myself, and Deal, who was in Jedi Magic Carousel, we signed a lease to move to New York City.
Oh wow.
Last year in April. We signed it in March, and then lockdown happened. It was like, let's not go.
It's a sign.
But on the way up to New York, Xander was driving through the night, and I was like, bro, Rev Gum, you got to try it out. I fell asleep for a couple of hours. He put on some lo-fi, right? And he's just chilling, driving. I wake up, and I'm like, hey, man, you doing all right? Like, you need me to, do you need to tag in? Like, what's up? And he's like, I'm good, man. I'm good. We're still going. I just need something to eat. I was like, it's working. Rev Gum.
This is a commercial for Rev Gum, brought to you by.
You can only find it in Texas, though, or on Amazon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So so caffeine infused gum and lo-fi. That is, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, the lo-fi kind of like balances it,
So you're not going too far,
right? You're not speeding at 120 miles an hour.
That's so. So you go to Indiana, and so how many days are you out on this tour here with Alex in the band?
We're out about 2 weeks.
Okay.
We go to Indiana, play a cool little place up there, Red Bicycle Hall, I want to say it is, and then we go to Cleveland to play the Cleveland Menor Corps. Then we have a wedding, and then we're recording for a couple of days at the Ohio Recording Company. Nice little studio up there, finishing up an album. Then over to Pennsylvania and Long Island.
Oh.
Long Island.
Okay.
We're going to eat some chocolate up there.
You back the car. No, that's Boston.
Car.
No, that's Boston.
Yeah, right. Lobster.
Yeah, wrong accent. Sorry. Oh, she said must find this gum. Well, he said he's on Amazon. It's on Amazon. So you buy something from Amazon every day. So
Yeah, right.
yeah. Alexa, buy Rev Gum. There you go. Everyone's Alexas are now going off buying. Yeah, especially you're watching the podcast on the TV in the house or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, so okay, so a polka band, but it's not October and it's not German or Oktoberfest. And so how does I would have never thought there was an appetite for but I know you guys don't do just traditional polka.
Sure.
Right. So
Yeah. Yeah, you never would have thunk it, right? I mean, but places like Pennsylvania, Cleveland, Chicago, Milwaukee, like polka music is kind of part of their heritage, and it's still there. Florida never really had polka.
Right.
They had like snowbird polka because all the snowbirds would come down here, and then
They're
the
looking
polka
forward.
bands would come in like
Right.
January, February, and play before the other season would
Go
start.
back out.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Oktoberfest season is definitely our hardest hit season. We've been
Right.
out before for like almost 2 months in a row. And gigs almost every single day.
Wow.
But yeah, people still liked polka here and there.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, at Green Bay Packers games, they play Roll Out the Barrel. Yep, and at Brewers games too.
I know last week you guys were supposed to play at the Stewart down on the waterfront. And
Yeah.
we got our
The
torrential-
mini hurricane
Yeah,
came.
we got our nasty, not even hurricane season yet, but a real bad downpour here in Florida, and unfortunately that was rained out. But I think that's been rescheduled to later in the fall, I think. So definitely, for those of you that are local, you need to check out that show there. So check out the website. We'll try to get the date out there as well too. Off the top of my head, I can't remember the date, but I know.
I think it's November 28th.
Oh, there you go.
It's Thanksgiving weekend.
Oh, even better. So a lot of people will be
Sunday.
definitely drinking football, polka. There you go. Right.
Right, yeah. Oh, that's right. We're going to be playing at 1 o'clock, right when football's going on.
Yeah.
No one's
It's all
gonna
right.
be there.
It all depends. Yeah. Usually it's Saturday or yeah.
Hopefully the Dolphins are playing at 4.
Yeah, there you go. So most people, well, it's right now close to the Duff. That Duffy's is right there. You can go into Duffy's and watch.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Spritz, they got TVs.
Yeah. So that
Yeah.
little downtown area there in Stewart is pretty cool. It's got a lot of cool little bars and restaurants that are down there.
Yeah, it's really nice. Actually, my buddy Sweet Butter Joe,
Mm.
the sax player, he runs an open mic at Vine and Barley every Monday night.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah. I usually go. I usually play there on Mondays.
Okay. There you go. Just not tonight.
Nope.
So who's drumming tonight then?
Not me.
All right.
The bartender.
There you go. So, also, you've got your own music too, right?
Mhm.
So you've obviously played the drums on it. So on that track that I've heard, Shanice had played for us was Das Emergency, which I think one is the sound bite of it, which is funny, and I'll let you describe the sound bite. And two is those drums are awesome. The sound on the drums.
Thanks.
Right, it's got a very warm feel on it.
Right.
For being that type of track or that type of sound that you're going for. So,
Mhm.
yeah, describe that track that you put together.
So the drums aren't real. I hate to break it to you.
Oh,
I know.
you just could
Building
have
it
kept
up.
that on the.
I know, right? No, I'll come out and say that. They're canned, but you can get so many good tones and so many great sounds from canned drums nowadays. The hardest thing to record in a studio, in my opinion, is drum set.
Mhm.
There's so many mics. You have to have a good room.
Right.
If you don't have a good room, it either has to be like dead or like it has to sound nice
Right.
in the room. Tall ceilings are really nice for drums, like A-frames, stuff like that.
Mm.
Oh, so nice. Yeah. So sorry to burst your bubble.
That's it. All right. Well, I don't know about the track now.
Yeah, you're like, I hate it. That the track started though. My neighbor is the soundbite saying "That's emergency." He's Polish, and Joe and I, Sweet Butter Joe, is my roommate at the time. We have a musical comedy duo called Hops and Schnapps, where we dress up in lederhosen, we pretend we're German, and hilarity ensues. We play music, do some comedy in between. So we were on a trip doing that in Nashville, and he leaves us a Facebook message that says something about like a pipe is broken. He goes, "Yes, hello, this pipe is broken. That's emergency. We need." They had to get into our apartment for some reason to get to the pipe, and we just thought it was really funny, him saying that. So I was like, I'm gonna take that and make a song out of it. And then lo and behold, this was in like January of 2020. A couple months later, it was "That's emergency." So I was like, "Oh, yep,
Yeah. It just
perfect song for
Yep.
for this year." And then I had the guitar stuff that you hear on it, and the person singing is Deal,
Okay.
James, who fronted Jedi Magic Carousel. And Yeah, I just wanted to make like a kind of like an EDM banger type of tune.
Yeah.
I guess. I don't know.
Haven't heard that. Yeah, some of that
Yeah.
in quite a while, right? Because EDM it's always probably still there, but when it was big, early 2000s, late 90s is
Sure.
Yeah, but yeah, it brings back a good feel of just the right amount of, again, the tones and sound, right? It's just like it's just got a good vibe, So that's what I was thinking about.
Yeah, I mean, in all of the production that I do, it's a lot of it is just, does this sound good? Is this like pleasing to my ear? Is this going to be something that if I'm going to put it in there, people are going to go, ooh, nice. I like that, Or is it? And a lot of times too, when you think about stuff like even that track, I can go back and look at it and be like, there might be like too many things in it. It's almost better to add a lot of stuff and then be like, okay, what can I take away?
Right.
In everything, really. I hear that in my drumming too. When I drum and I listen to myself play, I go, golly, why are you doing all this extra junk and fill here and this, just
Strip
play
it
the
down.
groove, man.
Right.
So I've tried to get better at doing that,
Right.
even with just drumming, because so many people are focused on, they've learned how to do these things, so they want to show them off. They're like, yeah, no, I can do this. Check this out with whatever it is, but sometimes that's not the best route.
Right. It's hard. It's hard, especially when there's space. And it's like anything. Whenever there's that awkward silence or awkward space, people are uncomfortable with it, right? As you know, right, as a drummer, is that hardest part is to leave a break or a rest, right, where everyone's expecting something, but there's a rest in there, and then it's like it totally blows people's minds because they're expecting, whether it was a kick or something ahead, but no, there's a rest. It's still a beat, right? But to fill in, keep it simple, right? Is, I guess, the point.
Yeah, I mean, those awkward silences can happen in human interactions too, right?
Awkward.
Right, and then you're like, we do the fill to the next part.
Right.
Anyways.
Back to you.
Back to you, Jim.
So now you have all your stuff out there on your website, Tommy Halla, HALLA.com.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah. There's I need to update it. That's something I've been meaning to get to.
Well, you got 16 hours in a car, right? You can work on it in a car.
Yeah, right. That would be a good time to do that. Yeah. But yeah, you can go there. You can hear some of the tracks I've worked on. There's some drumming examples and whatnot. But yeah, more to come. I've got some original tunes that I've been working on yet to be released.
Cool.
Still working with the little things. We're going to do some covers as well as some more original tunes. I did a track with Xander a few months before I started working with the little things. I'm working with Lord Vincenzo, the hip-hop guy. Doing some different mixing and mastering projects, and always recording with Alex.
Right.
Just, we always have stuff to do. Even it's just like we did a commercial, thing today where he goes, yeah, Alex Meixner Band coming to Krause's Cafe down in New Braunfels, Texas, May 27, Put a little reverb, make it sound nice.
The music, I think, for, as you were mentioning, there are a couple of the bands, I think, is kind of interesting, where you mentioned one of you're producing a rapper, and because of your percussion or your the education, the things and the things you bring to, as we're talking earlier about being a producer, or I think it complements so much. I was thinking about this morning, about doing the podcast, talking to you tonight, and even comes on the radio is like Dr. Dre, right? So Dr. Dre's now, what does he, probably more people know, I don't know, maybe it's the argument, but they know he's most people know he's a producer. He's this rap guy who's involved, right?
Sure.
But he's got a great ear for beats and certain tracks and certain feels. So, so would you say that obviously is a huge compliment to that, when you're working with some of these other artist because you have coming from a percussion, and with some of the artists, I guess, like the little things, right? To add in that percussion track or those other layers of the music outside of the ukuleles, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that definitely helps.
Right.
Having that background and whatnot, and just trying to, what I like putting the most into a song is just a nice beat, a nice groove, just making it like. One of my favorite ones is Pony, the song Pony. That has one of the hardest grooves I think ever. And really, what makes it is that wow, 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 wow. It's like that mouth noise,
right? Oh, like the talk box?
No, it's not a talk box. It. Bow, 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 bow. I don't know what makes it. I don't know if it was a person's mouth or what it was, but it just the tempo that it's at, where everything is sitting. You know, because with beats you could have stuff kind of swung, or you can have it, laid back a little bit behind the beat, a little ahead of the beat. It all depends,
right.
And that can just those little things can change the feel immensely. Right. So yeah, having a drum background definitely helps with making the beats and getting them in the pocket to where people ultimately my ultimate goal is ultimately have apparently
oh, he threw a new word in there.
No, have you seen I just happened upon this video not that long ago, the kid who says apparently at the fair. It was like a YouTube viral video maybe 6 years ago. You got to look it up if you haven't seen it. I think it's the funniest thing ever. he uses
apparently I haven't seen it.
Oh, apparently not. But he uses the word apparently in all the wrong ways. Like just, they're like, how'd you like this ride? And he goes, well, apparently you go down the super slide, and apparently you get really dizzy, and apparently... It must have been like the word of the week, at school. And they were like, try to use apparently whenever you can. And he just went off with it.
Put it everywhere.
So ultimately, I would like to get people to dance. That's like the main goal for me with music. Just to get them excited and dancing and moving around, because, I grew up playing polka music, and polka music is a dance music. Right. So every gig I played or every gig that I went to, people are dancing.
Right.
There's so
much energy.
Yeah.
And again, I think people would get who's never seen or been at a polka or Oktoberfest or again, I think probably is like any band. You probably got to be a good, decent polka band too, and have a very style. But yeah, the energy and the levels, and I don't know, man. They burn off all drinking all that beer, I guess. And
yeah. Yeah, the amount of times we've had people out there with their steins of beer, and they're just, spilling it everywhere, dancing around. Oh, man.
So, I guess, so for our listeners who aren't familiar with what a producer is, what do they do? What do you do?
What do I do?
Yeah.
Well, people come to you, and they usually have a song laid out, and it might just be with an acoustic guitar or a piano or something like that. They don't have like the whole thing put together. They have the song there, right? But they don't. It's not put together with all the bells and whistles and the beat and the groove and what it's ultimately going to sound like. Because your choices of how the kick drum sounds, or the snare, or if there's a synth in it, or do we add a guitar? Is the bass a synth bass? Is it a real bass? All of that determines the mood and the feel and how people are going to perceive that song. So those are the choices that I would make then, or that I would bring forth. I'd be like, I think this sounds good for what your sound is or could be, or sometimes like the little things, they have all these great songs, and it's just them with ukuleles, right? And it's already amazing just as it is, but then to take it to like another level, it's like, okay, let's add in some percussion, let's add in a bass line, let's add in maybe some synthy sounds, something, or some pads, something to take it to another area, that because after a while, not that I don't like just people singing with a guitar, but after a while, it's like there's only so much of that.
Mm-hmm.
I think. So as
because it helps enhance,
exactly.
right?
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be like you're trying to make a dish of food and you have salmon, but all you have is salmon and maybe green beans,
Right.
and then you're like, all right, what else can we do? Okay, why don't we make, I don't know, a beurre blanc, which is fairly basic at this point, but that would be adding something else. And how I think of music too and mixing is similar to cooking as well, because you have all the different ingredients there, and you have to have the low notes. You have to have those, there's the bitter aspect to it, or the darker areas of the food, and then you have your mids, and then you have your highs. Maybe it's salty or spicy, or but you want a balance of all of them. You don't want to eat a dish that's just, whoa, that's too spicy, or whoa, that's too acidic.
Right. You just got to have, and that's how I'm sure is like a lot of it is that what can separate one song from it being a hit song or very popular or whatever is just as I say, some of it is luck, some of it's the right stars aligned, right? And you have to have the right things happen.
Yep.
And to your point, maybe you go a little too much. And like cooking, good I think it's a great analogy.
Yeah, too much, you might burn it, too. Who knows? You mess with it too long, then it gets burnt.
Right.
The whole getting music out there and having a hit song and that type of stuff, I don't think is just solely based on the song anymore. It's you have to market nowadays. You have to take a certain amount of what you're going to spend on that song. Say you're going to spend, $1,000 on making this song.
Right.
You shouldn't just spend $1,000 on making the song and then zero on promoting it or marketing, right? No one's going to know about it. You could have this amazing song. There's a lot of people, including myself, who'd be like, I will make this amazing song, I'll put it out there, and then it'll just happen, right?
Right.
No, it doesn't work like that. So, and that's the part I'm not good at yet.
Right.
I want to get better at marketing. I'm reading a book now by this guy, Brendan Kane, who did that 1 million followers book, like how he got 1 million followers in 30 days. He's got a new book called Hook Point, and it's about trying to hook people, within the first couple of seconds, because when you put something online nowadays, you got like a couple of seconds.
Right. Their attention spans, forget it.
Right? It's like, look over here. Look at the butterfly.
That's where everyone's got bored. Don't have the patience for YouTube anymore. And no offense to our YouTube listeners, but obviously, they're now what was born out of that was TikTok, right? Here's quick, get it in there, and there's people posting TikTok videos about saying, you don't grab them in that first thing, you don't have energy or whatever. Forget it. People are just going to swipe the next video. So, but that's an excellent point. Is now right. Even though we have we were talking earlier about back before the internet, the only way somebody's going to know about a band or music is, within their little area of the country or the world. If you're on the radio or MTV, there wasn't really hardly anything else, or trying to really talk about really pounding the pavement, right? Really physical effort nowadays, and the internet is, you still got to pound the virtual pavement. It's a little easier,
sure,
because you don't physically have to do the traveling and so forth. But yeah, I think that's an excellent point. There is that it's there's so much now out there. Everyone's competing. It's a bigger reach now.
Yeah.
So
yeah, there are thousands upon thousands of songs every day being uploaded.
Right.
It's like you can get lost very easily, even though you can get it out there. It's like, how do you get it out there?
Get it to the
right people,
Yeah.
and the people who are going to want to listen to your song. Because I could put DOS Emergency in front of someone and they could go, ugh,
right.
That's not what I like.
Right. But if you put it in the front of somebody in the right things, the right, how to, like you said, maybe frame it up, or the right, I don't know, moment,
right,
or
the right package, right? Yeah, the right moment in their life. Maybe it's a sad song you wrote, and they hear it when they just went through a breakup, and they're like, "Oh, this is my favorite song now."
Right, like we were talking about. Sometimes it's the right place, right time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, even I hate kind of say that, but sometimes it does happen. So that so So you talked a little bit about drumming and producing, but how did that happen? That going from drumming to producing then. Was a producer didn't show up that day in the studio, and you were sitting in that chair, and they said, "All right, give it a try," or
No, and it was a long transition. Ever since I've started recording in studios, I've been interested in, how to make things sound a certain way, or what they're doing, or what microphone they're using, or, I never really got into it myself the first couple of years. When I was recording with Adelphi, a good friend of ours, was our engineer producer guy, and so I would just sit there and watch him and ask him questions, and then every studio session since, always asking questions, try not to be too overbearing, just little bits here and there.
Right.
And I got a unit of my own, and of course the first thing I recorded was a live polka band, because that makes sense for me. And recorded a couple of little things here and there on my own at home, but I didn't really get into it until a couple of years ago. There was this girl playing at the restaurant that I was working at, and she was playing this song that I was like, man, I really like this song. It's really cool. I like it a lot. And I could tell she she was just someone just playing the song. They didn't even give her a gig. She was just hanging out there and playing for free.
Right.
And I was like, you want to record this song? I really like it. And then it just sparked and hit me. I was like, you know what? Maybe I could take other people's songs and make them sound cool.
Right.
And so that was the experiment.
That's cool.
And it sounded pretty cool. And I was like, all right. I played real bass on it, and she had played guitar and sang on it. It's on my SoundCloud. It's called Polar. It's about being bipolar. And yeah, it turned out pretty good, and she's singing the song and whatnot, and then I'm saying ooh, we can add try this harmony here, and then I added a keys part, and I'm adding the bass line and the drums, and it turned out it wasn't the most amazing thing in the world, but I was like, this is good enough to be I think I can do this.
Right.
Let me keep trying. So yeah, that's how it kind of sprang born. My love for how things sounded and were being recorded. So I'd already done some of the recording stuff and mixing and whatnot, but I had never kind of been
help bit craft and form something.
Yeah.
In that sense, right.
Right. And I saw that there seems to be a need for people to have someone else kind of hear their song for what they have and be like, why don't we add this stuff? And maybe that'll be cool.
So so there's a flip side to that, is the artist that you work with's got to be very open to it too, right?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've presented things to people before, and they're like, that's not my favorite. I'm like, okay, cool.
Right.
How about this? You have to have kind of a non-attachment type of thing to it as well.
Right.
Because it's their song, and I'm just trying. Right.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to make it sound the best that it can for them. So I can't think of it as it is partially my song in a way because I'm helping to create it, but it's ultimately their vision at the end of the day. So I just have to be ready to, if that doesn't work for them, cool, let's try something else.
Right.
And one of the bands I worked with, Sandman Sleeps, I played drums on their first couple of tracks and helped record and mix and master those songs. And Christina, the singer, the one thing she said about working with me was that if something didn't work that I presented, I was very easy to just be like, cool, let's try something else.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, well, no, but I really like that. Because then you just get a stalemate, and then nothing gets done. Right?
Yeah, right. And any relationship, partnership, band things, right? Is a lot of those things is people aren't being very open and the criticism or feedback, and thus those things, unfortunately, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, everybody wants the best. Yeah, so you got to be open to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's I guess a good approach, right, is how to get into it, is just try it, start doing it and working with somebody, and then kind of giving that feeling. It's kind of, and you've established it over the many years now. So, and then you've got obviously trust with the musicians here that you've been working with. Obviously, that you've got the right thought process, mindset, or approach to helping kind of their product
Sure.
or their start of their product.
Yeah, it's all about creating a good environment, a comfortable space that we can all be creative in, and get to the greatest good.
Right.
Right. I know a buddy of mine in Baltimore. He works for a design firm, and he kind of taught me a lot about that whole workflow process, because I've never really worked in I worked at an engineering company years ago, but it wasn't creative. It was just like, I was the R&D guy, and they were like, here's your project that you do, and I had to write down results and everything and then present them and whatnot. So, but it wasn't like a creative process. And he went to MICA, which is a great art school in Baltimore, and he learned a lot about how, constructive criticism, going back and forth with people to getting to the best possible ending, instead of just being fixated on this one idea that like you presented. And a lot of people have egos, that gets in the way, and they're like, oh, this is my idea, and they really want their idea to be the one that is at the end. So then it's harder to get things done. But when people go back and forth and go, what about this? How about let's add this? And what if we take that away and let's try this? And if everyone's kind of open and moving with it to get to the final product where it's like, oh yeah, all of our ideas are now melded all together to create this amazing thing. Like that's what I try to create.
Because everybody brings
music.
The diversity brings so many of the best ideas, right? And everyone's got in a team sense, and for those that work in that type of corporate or office environment where you're brainstorming to solve a problem or whatever that may be. Yeah, there are sometimes there's some people a little bit more vocal, and there's some people that are not as vocal. And but ultimately, at the end of the day,
that has to do with childhood stuff. Yeah.
That will be on our next podcast with Freudian with Paul.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's it. At the end of the day, everybody wants to be able to put some sort of input in there. But then there's also personality things too that plays into it, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it's good.
Oh yeah.
So all right. So you want to give this a try now?
Bop it.
Yes, bop it. Okay.
Let's do it.
So the way it works is we're just going to play the classic version, which is just 3 moves, right? Twist, bop it, pull it. Okay, it'll tell you. It will speed up as you go along. I think right now, Tommy, our last guest here in the studio, so this was I think at 28. I think we had some technical difficulty and so forth.
Boy.
Now, no pressure now, Tommy, because 2 Tommies in a row.
We should have done this before the Manhattan.
Oh no, of course no. Why would that would be no fun? So no pressure that my son has had the record on this at 100. Okay, so you're a drummer, so this should be no problem, right? It's kind of like our version of Simon Says, right? So
bop it,
there you go.
Pull it, twist it.
All right, so that's loud. All right, so that's classic.
Okay.
All right, so bop at the start. Probably best to hold the handle the other way. Flip it around, because remember you're gonna pull it. There you go. Now turn it the other way.
Oh yeah, pull it.
Yeah. Turn it so you hit the bop it. Yeah, there you go. But the other hand, there you go.
But what if I want to bop it with my right hand?
Oh, I guess.
You have to do it with your left hand. Okay.
All right, so whenever you're ready.
That's a lot of pressure. Here we go.
High score, 2. Twist it. Oh. Twist the thing.
It's quick.
Twistable.
It's quick.
Score 0.
All right, give you another try.
High score, 2. Pull it. Bop it. Bop it. Bop it. Twist it. Bop it. Bop it. Pull it. Pull it. Pull it. Pull it. Twist it. Bop it. Pull it. Twist it. Twist it. Bop it. Twist Twist it. Twist it. Bump it. Pull it. Twist it. Twist it. Twist it. Twist it. Twist it. Pull it. Oh!
I missed it.
Pullable thingy. High score. 40.
All right. We have a new record there with 40.
40.
All right. You know
Not-
what? You could have got it going. Or you just got a little too much chicken grease on your hand.
I
guess,
did.
or
I
something. Slipped
whiffed
off.
on that one. I went, all right, I'm all right with that. 40.
All right, so, yeah,
40.
Well, now we can't get to the shut up. Now that's the problem. So, so yeah, it's a.
What's your high score?
It's been a while, so I have not done it in a while, but there you go. So yeah, there's a whole version of it where you do more actions on it and so forth, and figure keep it simple with just 3 moves on it, and figure all right. Well, if we got drummers on this, it's about listening to that speeding up, repetition, and actually doing the motions and so forth. So, all right, so we have a high score now. So we got 4. Oh, good
40.
score. There we go. Good
All
score.
right.
So.
Charlene said she might have already ordered the gum, so.
Yeah, that does not surprise me. So I haven't got my. She was complaining the last time because every time she orders something, I have to approve it from my phone or something like the Amazon's hooked up. So she's happy now. I guess somehow that it fixed itself so that she doesn't have to ask for my approval. So to spend my money.
That's funny.
So. Well, congrats on the Bop It score there. So
Thank
again,
you. All right.
if you're for those of you future guests who come actually in person, obviously can't do this over Zoom and a remote, so actually a little bit tough unless I guess I mail you the Bop It and hopefully you send it back to me. So we have a new high score of 40. So congrats, Tommy. So as we start kind of winding some things down here, so we were talking, in our pre-show stuff about the drum kit configuration. I guess depending, as you mentioned, depending on where you're playing, what the gig is, or so you just kind of mostly like a 4-piece setup, 1 high, 1 low tom.
Yep.
Snare kick.
Snare kick. Yep. Ride cymbal, crash cymbal, hi-hats. Sometimes a second crash, but I like that second crash to be something different. Like when I tour with Alex, he has this, what's it called? Trash former. Okay. Yeah. And so it gives a different flavor, and when you tour on the road and you don't have your own roadie, minimalism is the best.
Right.
I do bring a timbale, too.
Okay.
So a little timbale for the Alex gigs. I just recently got a Ludwig breakbeats kit.
Oh, I love mine.
Yeah, they're so nice.
Yes.
The little 16-inch kick. Those things sound great.
I saw a
Sound
guy,
amazing.
we were talking earlier about when I was in Nashville for the drum clinic. There's this guy was on Broad Street, whatever, the main strip, right?
Yeah.
And I guess for obvious reasons, you're not allowed to busk because you're in front of all these bars and paying musicians and so forth.
Right.
So somehow, I don't know, I didn't stay around long enough to watch the guy get busted. But he had one of those breakbeat kits. He had a little mini PA. He had a microphone. And the guy was freestyling, rapping, people walking by, just playing this, just groove and whatever. And he's like, somebody walks by, he just starts rapping about them. Like,
Nice.
just holy free. I was like, that is probably the coolest thing I've seen here in Nashville.
That's awesome.
But I love mine. I switched mine out to, I put the low volume heads on them, the mesh heads, and then the Zildjian low volume cymbals,
Right.
so I could play in the house and then not be too noisy. So,
Right. Nice.
So you just recently got it. What color did you get?
It's a red sparkle.
Okay.
Yeah. It was used, too. Someone in PSL was selling it. I've been looking for a smaller kit. My kit is a Baltimore Drum kit, which is a local company in Baltimore. I've had that thing since 2001, I think. But the kick drum is 22 by 18, so it's a honker, And then the rack toms 12 by, I don't know, that thing's really deep,
deep.
So it's like, and I like to. I'm not the tallest person, I'm not the biggest person in the world. I like to you've seen my drumming. I like to stay compact and quick, and I'm not. My cymbals aren't up here. I'm not making big movements. So that kit, after a while, playing on some smaller kits, because when I play with Alex, he has his own kit from Treehouse Drums. Have you seen these drums?
No.
They're the ones that they have the latches on it, and they nest inside of each other.
Okay.
Right? So everything is inside the kick drum.
Okay.
The
Just
toms.
like kind of like a suitcase drum kit?
Kind
something?
of, but the kick drum's 18 inches
Okay.
around. So it's like, it's a full, and it sounds amazing, too. Yeah. Treehouse Drums out of Topeka, Kansas. They make a really good drum set. Nesting drum set. That's their biggest kit they have. They have smaller ones, too. So it's a little smaller than my kit, and I really liked playing on it with him. So I was like, and some of the places I'm playing, or if I'm like rehearsing at someone's place, like, I bring in this kick drum, and I'm like, well, where should I put this thing?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Like,
22s are a monster. Yeah.
yeah, like I played, not Brewhouse Gallery, Maxie's lineup.
Okay, yep.
Right?
Oh, there's no room up.
There's hardly any room in
No.
there.
Yeah.
And I set up my drum kit, and this is still the bigger drum
Yeah,
set.
you're stuck out in the middle of the walkway now, right?
Right. No, I pulled myself back in this little corner. The guy who was running sound was like, "Can I take a picture of how you set up your drums? Like, no one's ever been able to fit in this space before. I want to show everyone else."
It can be done.
Yeah. But so I've been looking for a small kit. It's funny though, when I am touring and I only have, a 4-piece drum kit, you always get the people coming up to you and they're like, "Well, why you only have that many drums? You ever heard of Neil Peart?" I'm like, "Yep. Yeah, I heard of him."
Yeah.
They're like, "Well, he's got like, tons of stuff." And I'm like, he's got probably like 2 roadies too, Like, I was like, if you wanna help me with them, then I can bring more.
Yeah.
You wanna come along on the road?
Yeah, for
I'll
no
pay
cost.
you in beer.
Yeah,
Right.
there you go. I don't know. Yeah, there's a fixation about. I think that maybe there's a more fixation about cymbals than there is about how many. I don't know. Just my thoughts or what I've experienced is, like, I've been asked before, well, how many cymbals do you have? What does it matter?
Right.
Right? Like I bought probably the last cymbal that I bought was a Zildjian Crash Ride. And it's great. It's just got enough that you just ride it and then it's enough that it's going to crash too, right?
Yeah, so if you have a gig and you can take that one cymbal.
Right.
And it's got a good bell probably
Yep.
too, right?
Yep.
I got a cymbal like that too, the Sabian AAX Omni. It rides really well, and it's got 2 different areas for riding. It's got a hand-hammered area and a lathed area, so you can get like a washy ride, you can get a pingier ride. The bell's great, and it crashes. It was like, it's the only cymbal I need, really.
Yeah.
You
right.
know?
Your hi-hats and a ride. And
Yeah.
and if you can right.
Right. And then maybe a little like accent cymbal or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A
I mean,
little splash.
ideally I would have more things.
Yeah.
But maybe that'll come one day when polka music really hits it big.
That's right.
We have riders and roadies.
That's right. The blue M&Ms.
Right. Yep.
So
you know why they put that in there,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Okay.
That came up in a previous podcast. Actually, that came in a conversation about why that is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or green M&Ms. Was it no green M&Ms?
Yeah, green M&Ms, something
yeah,
like
that's
that.
it.
Yeah,
That's
because they knew if they didn't take the green M&Ms out, they didn't read the rest of it.
Yep. Right.
And
right.
Because they were
Somebody-
doing like pyrotechnics and stuff.
Yeah,
and, like,
somebody thought I was going into green M&M weird conversation about green M&Ms were supposed to be some sexual reference or whatever, and I was like,
Wow.
I don't know what the hell, I don't know. Okay.
Interesting.
And now you have an excuse to have an Alex on so you can see his drums. Oh, there you go. Right.
Oh,
Yeah, there you go.
nice.
Yeah, and also you play. You mentioned that you play with a Roland pad as well. The electronics. Do you
Yep.
use that also with Alex in the band too, or is it just purely acoustic?
No, I've used that with Alex as well.
Okay.
Yep. That was actually the reason I got it, was to use it with him when I play at Worst Fest with him, which is this big celebration of sausage, the actual sausage that you eat.
Okay.
Not
It wasn't like it was terrible
like a-
festival.
Yeah.
Worst.
right. Well, that's how. Yeah. This is the worst fest ever. I don't play drums on that gig.
Okay.
His longtime drummer Ed Klanick does, and I do extra percussion. I have congas and rototoms and chimes and tambourine and shakers and whatnot. And I was like, you know what? I want to get like a digital pad too and have some 808s and
Yeah.
some other
Right.
whatever's
Yeah.
on there. And then I would add in like silly little sound bites from TV shows or whatever, and I added intro music for everyone. So when he would introduce everyone, I would like hit a certain song for each person or something. And this one guy, I had the Pornhub theme for him, right? The right. So I play that for him the first night.
This is no longer a PG-13 podcast. That's why I have to check the box where it says explicit.
Oh, sorry. I should have asked you about that before we started.
Fuck no.
Okay, well then. Yeah, I mean, it's rum, so. So the next day, Alex comes up to me and he's like, yeah, so, that one thing you played for the guy, you can't, more. One of the higher-ups was like, nope, can't do that. We know what that is.
Now, why do you know what that is?
Right, I was like, sir.
Yeah. Why are you so uptight?
Yeah. Anyways, yeah, the D-pad. Digital pad. Yeah.
Yeah, I've always been fascinated about, that, again, I'm sure, my wife, or I'm sure just because I'm talking about gear that I'm going to get my call from my guy from Sweetwater Colton. He'll be probably texting me soon. It's like, oh, I heard you mention something about new gear,
Right, yeah. Somehow your phone just picked it up from the podcast,
well, it's like,
sent it to him.
Right, Siri, well, that's it, everything. It's always listening, right? Like Alexa, right? Alexa, buy new drums. So, no, yeah, I'm always. I saw. I've talked about this before. Jason Bonham play on Howard Stern show before they went into lockdown was with Sammy Hagar, where he just played his SPX, and he, I guess, had a kick. I can't remember if he had 2 paddles, but all he played was the pad.
Wow.
And that was it. And they're like, okay, where's the drums? Because this is it.
Right.
And
These
again,
are the drums.
You got to be, especially if you're playing like to that, and it's only going to be that, is the precision of hitting that exact square and being very good. Now, again, it's Jason Bonham, right? But which is fascinating that you can get, as you mentioned, the sounds out of stuff now don't sound so electronic-y drums anymore.
No, yeah. A lot of the samples they have out there now are incredible. I mean, a lot of them are from real recordings, or, there's people who are just sitting around recording drums and putting out sample packs.
I've got to figure out. I got an Elisa's kit that I bought pretty cheap from somebody who was moving, and I haven't figured out yet I haven't spent the time yet to move MIDI. I can back and forth or try to update some stuff, but it's some feedback I've gotten is like sound half decent when I've recorded some stuff for somebody, and
sure.
I said, wow, that's not a bad sound from a. Again, that's not an expensive kit or electronic kit either, but
right. Does it have the velocity sensitive pads?
Yes.
At least?
Yeah. So you can set
nice.
some of it, and then again, I've set in some of the different range or the frequency, to make it a little bit more, But yeah, I haven't even gotten to half of it, So let alone the other. So which drum kit should I play today? Or oh hey, I'm also doing a podcast too, which keeps me busy. So yeah, I'm trying to get into more stuff. So car. All right. So Kirk says car warranties and Sweetwater sales. There you go. Yes, that's.
Oh yeah, that's what's going to be popping up.
Well, so the Pornhub theme. Interesting. Okay. Well, I want to talk to that person when I get home. So
great, more gear.
Yeah. Yes.
Always more gear. I just bought a bass the other day at Guitar Center because I don't actually own my own bass, but they had one on sale, and I was like, I've wanted one, so why not?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's your newest gear then, bass. Okay.
Yeah, that and a VCA compressor, equalizer, and trying to get some hardware, analog hardware now to add to the studio.
Very cool. So I think there's interesting was you should check out is a podcast I did here. I think it actually might have been our first podcast that I've done here in. And I forgot to mention where we're at here tonight. Is that you saw on the logo there in the corner of the video was LMC, Live Music Community here, where we're shooting a podcast again, where we've been doing our in-person podcast here. And so one of our first podcasts we did here at Live Music Community was with Reese Bridges. Reese is the drummer who he was in the band Dirty Vegas.
Okay.
So you remember the band back in the early 2000s. Days Go By.
Right. Yeah.
And and we were talking about how he infuses some of that sampling into playing the acoustic kits, and he done some touring where he was playing acoustic drums and with a DJ, right? So they were kind of like, that was their thing, right? And I was like, well, that's kind of interesting,
I have to go back and check some of that out. I just did that yesterday,
so,
playing drums with a DJ. So yeah.
So it's an interesting some of the things. So he is currently playing now with. I probably could have talked with him for hours and just some of that. But I recently saw him down at Respectables in West Palm.
I love that place.
He's in a Morrissey Smith's tribute band. They've been together around for 10 years. They're playing Respectables. The sound was awesome, and so forth. But yeah, Reese is, somebody who lives here in Miami area. So I know some interesting stuff. I think that's always great. The cool thing about the podcast was connecting people with guests with other guests, and then kind of asking questions like the happy hour end of year Zoom session we did where it was a long session. We got drummers, online, and some of the online drummers like Dave Bloom. He's one of the online drummers. He was on it with asking rum questions. So it was kind of a really cool. One of our rum guests was on, and they're kind of talking to each other and so forth. But so I'm maybe try to do that again. Maybe every 6 months, try to bring some guests back to Zoom in, hang out, and kind of share some stuff where we're at.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Just again crossing different groups and folks, and so forth. So, okay, well, yeah, we're gonna move on from the chat there.
So, can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
What's the rum that we had tonight? Because
the rum is
very delicious.
Yes, you're welcome. So the rum is drums and rum.
You have your own rum.
Well, at least tonight I put the sticker on somebody else's rum.
Oh.
It looks like it works, right?
Yeah, I mean that looks legit.
So no, actually, seriously, that was since Real McCoy is not paying me for any sponsorship in free advertising space. It is actually, I'll go ahead and share with him. Is actually that Real McCoy 12 year is actually a real good rum. Some of these aged rums, and what we had here tonight was a Manhattan. So Tommy had told me that one of his favorite drinks was in their questionnaire was a Manhattan. So again, most people have Manhattans with a whiskey bourbon or something to that effect. Whereas, obviously this is a rum podcast, and a lot of rums, you can kind of get a good different take on a bourbon or whiskey feel, depending on what it is. It's not all just fruit drinks or tropical and sugary and things
Most
like
people
that.
think rum punch.
Right.
Yeah.
And
rum and Coke.
And just because it's made from sugar doesn't mean it's going to be sweet as heck.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, tequila's made from agave, so.
Right. So there's the whole obviously distilling once it makes it through the distilling process and so forth. Somebody mentioned was actually I think it was Charlie that should do a podcast on talking about rum and the sugar and how for diabetics and things and so forth, right? Where there's certain once you add all the extra spices and stuff in there, you definitely can jack up, the sugar. Then it changes some sort of form. So
sure.
But yeah, so Real McCoy 12 year, it's a good year. It's probably like a $30-$40 bottle, and you can mix it with some good stuff, and probably something more you drink, not so much in a rum and Coke.
Right.
But
no, I would want to
just neat
I would
want
to try just neat after this.
Yeah, sure.
See what it tastes like. So how did you get into rums? Were you in with rum industry somehow, or you just were like, you know what, I like rum better than whiskey?
Well, I was actually a pirate in my previous life. So
there you go. All right.
So I was asked that question on Brad's podcast, Jams and Cocktails. I was a guest on there, and he asked me, he goes, well, how'd you come up with the name? And do you know Chris Springer?
Maybe.
Yeah, okay. So
sounds familiar.
So Chris, he's a musician.
A local guy?
He's a local guy, yeah.
Okay. I've heard the name. I don't think I've met him.
And so we were good friends with him, and he was listening to the podcast, and I was starting to expound upon how I came up with the name Drums and Rums. And I guess I may not have been getting to the point right away, because I was kind of taking the long way to answer the question, basically, that he knew was calling me out because I was making some bullshit answer he thought I was going to say. But I didn't say it was catchy. It rhymed.
That's great.
So again, I play the drums. I figured, all right, I play the drums. I like rum. All right, well, sure, that's
Drums and rums.
yeah, drums and rums, and and some of that was born from that Nashville trip where kind of was like, all right, this is gonna keep kicking the butt to start this whole podcasting. Take this idea I've been sitting on, chewing on for for quite a few months.
Sure.
Came back and then
Chewing on the sugar cane.
yeah.
So I noticed you don't have like a theme song for your podcast.
I do. I kind of do. I kind of do.
All right.
It's I don't have a theme song with words to it, but I do have that intro. Depending on if there's guests, I've changed up the intro of the song or the intro to the podcast where there's me introing and giving a little description of the podcast. Lately, that's what I've been doing, and underneath that is our little drums and rums theme and song, and then I go right into, if it's an artist, into their music.
Gotcha.
Right? And then into the podcast.
Okay.
So we'll have to talk about which song you want me to put into the start of the podcast there.
Gotcha. I was gonna say I could make a drums and rums.
I would definitely be down with that.
Drums,
Definitely with the drummer,
drums
right?
and rums,
Right.
drums and rums.
Right. So I don't know. I think Kurt will have. So was it Kurt? So
No, here's
yeah.
here's the intro music.
All right, you want to try bop it again?
Never mind.
Yeah.
I mean, sure.
Yeah. That definitely for sure. That'd be really. But actually, one thing I if you're definitely interested in, haven't talked a whole lot about was, one of our guests here earlier this year has been doing some composing. He's up in lives up in New Jersey, and I had this idea last Christmas time about a whole little drummer boy kind of thing, redoing that song, but kind of like different drummers doing different parts and mashing it up.
Oh, interesting.
So that'd be cool. We still got many months to go, but I need to start kind of planning that out. So so I'll definitely talk with you about some of that, getting some of the other guests on.
All right.
Kind of playing different parts, kind of mashing and some of that up. They're all
That'd
playing.
Be neat, yeah.
Yeah.
Would you want video too? So that's
For sure.
Playing?
Yeah, yeah.
Cool.
So some of the guests that we've had on there, like Jim Donovan, Rusted Root. He was one of our guests.
Yeah, I've met Jim before.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he taught at this college up in Pennsylvania. Gosh, what was the name of it?
Yeah, because that's right.
My ex-girlfriend used to go there.
Okay.
So when I would visit her, and she'd be like, "This guy Jim teaches this class, and he's so great." And I was like, "Oh, he's the drummer for Rusted Root. That's crazy." Yeah, you taught it was like hand drum class, hand drum meditation or something like that. Yeah. What was the name of the college? Jeez, it was in Loretto. Was it in Loretto?
Lehigh?
No. Why can't I think of it now?
But yeah, that
Anyways.
was So I know he's a Pennsylvania guy.
Yeah.
And he's got a podcast, and again, a lot of the health healing and like a lot of times I know the name Drums and Rums, asking people to come on, can be a little off-putting because of an alcohol reference, right?
Gotcha.
In the title. And there's times when I have to explain, look, some podcast episodes, there's no rum involved in discussion because it's a purely drum podcast.
Mm-hmm.
There's sometimes, we're not really talking about rum in this podcast. Okay, we're drinking some, but then vice versa. There's podcasts that are purely rum because we talk with rum. So again,
and then you just have someone playing drums in the background the whole time.
Yeah. But yeah, so no, I definitely, I think that's one of the cool things about is connecting with all these different great guests, is some of that collaborations and going through some of that, and so I'm kind of we'll definitely keep. Yeah, I know you're busy and so forth, but when you get back, we'll get to try some stuff out. Yeah, I'm totally down with that.
Not.
Yeah. Yes. All right. So Kirk said that would be cool. I'm assuming. I don't know, Kirk, if you're talking about the Christmas song or a updated version of our. Kirk actually did our little drums and rums, not little, but our drums and rums little theme there at the beginning.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I told him, I said I'm looking for some music, and he's a good buddy. Bass. He plays bass, and He's been actually delving into some of lo-fi also too.
Oh, nice.
So I think he submitted some for a lo-fi contest that they were running last year or something like that. So he was trying to get
Really?
into some of that. So yeah, so to Kirk, definitely check out Tommy's stuff, and then maybe when he gets back from the recent tour there, we can definitely kind of
Yeah, we can
connect.
all meet up.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So actually, he was the guy I was talking about who told me about seeing I guess probably seeing you as well, right, up in Helen. However many years ago, right? So I
Yeah.
know, Kirk, when did you see Alex for the first time up in Georgia there? So, all right, well, we'll wait till that.
Yeah, it might take a while.
Yeah, take a second delay.
I have a note about lo-fi.
Yes.
So lo-fi is the type of music that you can put it on with anything, and it makes it infinitely better. So football,
Yeah.
right? Football is great. I like watching football. Put on some lo-fi with it, so much better. The lo-fi is just chilling underneath of it, and then the announcers, sometimes like the way the stuff matches up with the music is, you're just like, this is so good. I don't know. It's been one of my favorite things. My favorite announcer to go with lo-fi was Booger McFarlane. He was on Monday Night Football, but he's not on there anymore, unfortunately.
And he's not on ESPN either.
He's not I don't think he's doing any of the games anymore. He does like after show stuff or maybe or something.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Lo-fi with just anything is great.
Yes, excellent song, but intro as well. Okay, so there you go. So yeah, we'll catch up with Tommy Kirk when he gets back from this 2 weeks stretch they're gonna do there. So all right. So I guess as we start wrapping things up here, Tommy. So there's got a portion of the show that we call it for our drum guests in 4 beats or less. For our rum guests, we call it 4 sips or less. Again, and this is just a first thing that comes to mind, and this is obviously wasn't in the questionnaire. So again, it's just some questions I wrote down to kind of see. It's like it's either this or that, and then we can kind of get into a little bit more detail on obviously the answer. So
Sure.
all right. So in 4 beats or less, what's been more of a challenge, drumming or producing?
Producing.
Okay. In 4 beats or less, you mentioned on the podcast being a musician with Flint Blade. You said it's tough being a drummer and no one books just a drummer. Oh, I'm jumped ahead here. I'm sorry. All right, I'll finish this now. Okay. All right. Do you think with the right setup, a drummer can be a one-man band?
Yeah. It would have to be more than drums, though.
Well, yeah. But
Oh, yeah.
like if somebody was like Stephen D. Hunt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know him. Yeah.
Yep. So trying to get him on this show. So I know he's very busy and he's
Right.
crazy schedule.
Yeah,
and
because
stuff.
he plays drums, but he
Right.
also plays guitar. He's
Right.
got that. Yeah.
Right, he's in a band with Spider Cherry.
Yeah.
But then he's also has drums when he does a one man thing, and
Yeah.
yeah. So I don't know if Steven, no, of course you're on watching Steven. You probably got a gig.
Right.
Yeah.
He's playing. 2013. Yeah, that was a while ago. I wasn't even in the band then, so.
Okay.
Well, maybe I was. 2013 is when I joined. Late 2013. Anyways, one man band as a drummer, yes, you can, but you can't just play drums.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
you couldn't just
yeah.
sit there and be like, all right, drum solo.
Okay,
for,
so
3
let's
hours.
say and not knocking our friends who were soloists, guitarists, singers, and so forth. They do loop, right? They do some sort of level of a percussive, whether it's slapping the guitar or some type of other type of percussion. But they are using electronics to kind of add layers.
Oh yeah,
Right?
definitely.
So I could definitely see, it's probably easier to make percussive sounds or beats as a guitar player
Mm-hmm.
than you probably could make guitar sounds out of a drum.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, because you can, you can hit the guitar. You can, especially if it's an acoustic guitar, you can
Right.
hit the body of it to make some drums or chucks to make like a snare-ish type of sound. Like in bluegrass, the mandolin
Oh, right.
is literally like the snare drum. Chick, 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 right?
Right.
Yeah, so going the other way, that would be tough.
I guess unless you have pre-recorded stuff and, like I said,
Right.
infusing some electronic into a vice versa.
Yeah, I've thought about creating something like that. I just got a loop pedal not that long ago, and I feel like I know enough bass and guitar and keys that I could make it happen, and then I could play live drums along with it too.
Right.
Just be a matter of having the time to put it all together.
Yeah. Right,
so
yeah.
it's like in between touring and I bartend part time too a little bit, and producing and mixing and stuff like that, and playing some local gigs. It's hard to find time sometimes, in between showering and making food and trying to have a social life too.
Right. Come on, podcast.
All right. Yeah.
It's only so many times that. Yeah, I've always thought that. I'm like, wait a minute there. If guitars can do it, that's as if drummers should be able to do it, right? With the right, kind of. It's a different style. It's totally something that nobody else is doing.
Right. Yeah.
But you gotta, I think, if you get the right kind of, like I said, if there's that a little bit of that, depends on where it is.
Mm-hmm.
Could you do drums and do some type of techno type of dance kind of thing with it? Sure.
Right.
But it's not going to be at like the public library. It's got to be in the right place, right?
Yeah.
So
I think that girl, she's like internet famous, Elise Truo or Trow.
okay.
I think she started out mainly as just like playing the drums mostly. I want to say she did, and then she can also play guitar and sing. So now she has this whole looping stuff that she, she'll play a drum beat and then play guitar, bass, whatever, and sing on it. There's one looping person that is like, I don't even know if she loops that much stuff. She's been blowing my mind. Her name is Neon Vines. If you look her up on YouTube, it's a lot of pads and a lot of keys and stuff, and she's singing, but it's like sometimes she's doing multiple things with both of her hands and like looping. I can't make sense of what.
Yeah, those pads
she's
are
doing.
like amazing, right? Right.
And it's like a whole crafted song too. It's not just like now I created a loop and here's the loop for 3 minutes.
Right, but
it's
you're.
like,
I mean, yeah. To that point, you are actually playing something. It's electronic, but you're kind of putting the right things together,
Right,
patterns, right? I know the guitar garage band, Jesus, garage band's got something similar like that. You could play that on your,
Right,
device,
yeah.
That's kind of cool. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's probably not that far off from it. Like we're talking, the gig with the DJ is they're playing something, but yet you could probably underplay something underneath it too, or a backing track of some sort, right? There are some soloists, guys, girls that get hired for these tiki kind of jobs.
Sure.
Right? They're just playing a little backing track to kind of give them some sound to play through, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
So
a little more oomph.
Yeah, so I'm not hating. I'm not hating. Okay, I'm just trying to say, hey, there's room for, for solo gigs for drummers. That's what I'm trying to. The new movement.
Yeah,
hashtag
the new movement.
Right, drum soloists, solo. Yeah, whatever.
Drum solo loopers.
Yeah.
Solo drum
So loopers,
loopers,
yes.
And polka tender. Those are the trending things.
Yeah.
And Rev Gum. Rev Gum's definitely
Rev Gum,
trending.
yeah, that's right. We're buying a lot of stock now in Rev Gum. Yeah. So this podcast is not brought to you by Rev Gum, but we plugged them anyway. So, so Tommy, so as we wrap up, what do you got? Any things to kind of you want to get the word out there about? Any type of promote, and we talked about the upcoming tour here that you're going to be going on and some of your music, but kind of bring it to closure here. What you want to try to get everybody to check out what you've got going on.
Check out Alex Meixner Band. It's the band I play with. It's like polka, rocky, funky, something. I don't know. Polka fusion, I like to kind of call it. Check out my website, tommyhalla.com. I'm on Spotify as Tommy Halla. There's The Little Things that I produced their track. Xander James, a local guy now lives in New York. He goes by Xaxa, Xaxa. Did a track for him. Check him out. Lord Vincenzo, Lord VXCXNO. I think, yeah. It's like hard to spell. Check out all that stuff. And if you want to work with me, just get in touch with me. I live in Fort Pierce right now. Got a studio in my house, and I live right on the water. I got a couple of cats, So hopefully
Sorry, we
you're not
we
allergic.
didn't get a chance to talk about the cats.
Oh yeah. That's okay. I was like, buzzword. Maybe people will watch because I said cats.
Right. That's just funny because this podcast was sponsored by Friskies.
Yeah. Darn. That's not what I feed them. They get a raw diet, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. So just if they wanted to get in touch with you, best way is through the website or
Yeah, either website or Instagram is really good too. Just at Tommy Halla, all one word. You can follow me on there. I usually post stuff on there of what I'm doing, and you can message me on there. And if you need anything mixed, mastered, production stuff, or if you need a drummer for a gig, I'm not always around.
right.
But when I'm here,
Just
I like to keep busy.
Just holler at your boy.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So all right. So again, I'd like to thank Tommy for coming on the podcast here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks for having me.
This episode will be available, on all your favorite podcast locations we've got out there, but it'll be posted on April 22nd. So this Thursday, the podcast will be available. Check us out on Facebook, for upcoming shows and live streams next week. This Saturday live stream will be with Rock Sound Rum. So Joel, he is the can't wait to talk to him. He goes by the cocktail scientist. So he's got like a whole chemistry degree background, how to mix and all that. So they're based out of Austin. So looking forward to that one. That'll be a great chat.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I've learned a lot about craft rum, where it's very hard to get product, even in this country, into another state, right? As you mentioned about like the Rev Gum, right?
Yep.
Why you can't, but
It is.
obviously spirits.
Alex actually has his own beer.
Oh, that's right. New
Alex
Broth-
Meixner Polka Pilsner, brewed in New Braunfels, right? But you can't take it out of Texas. They can't get it outside of there.
But you can take it with you, though, right?
You could, yeah. You could
Okay.
buy bottles and then take
Okay.
it with you, but they can't distribute out of. So
Okay.
yeah,
So
So
you'll be going to New Braunfels soon, though, right?
right.
Okay, so maybe I'll have to ask you.
Next month, end of next month.
All right, maybe I'll ask you.
I'll
to
get
pick-
you some.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So our mule, our rum mule.
Yeah. Well, no, it's not rum.
Yeah. Rum. Well, there are I guess there is such a thing called mules, right?
Yeah.
Moscow
Moscow mule.
Cuban mule.
Ooh.
I don't know what. Anyway.
Ooh,
So
Cuban mule. That
Oh, you
sounds
haven't had a.
No.
Oh, you haven't had a. Oh. Well.
I haven't
You
had
don't-
most things made with rum. I've had
Okay.
like rum punch.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's a whole world of. We don't make Moscow mules. We use the Tito's brass, copper, the copper mugs that say Tito's on it, but we
Right.
have our Moscow mules, but with rum instead of vodka. So
Nice.
yeah, so we do have enjoyed some of those. So okay, so check out the Drums and Rums podcast. Give it a follow, like, subscribe. We're trying to get to 100 followers there, subscribers on YouTube. Again, that helps us get our own custom URL there. So hopefully you give us all sorts of subscribes on that, as well as visit the website drumsandrubs.com. Definitely lastly want to make sure I want to give a shout out to a lot of fellow podcasters here we have in the area. I know we have quite a few here in South Florida area there. First, we mentioned Flint Blade. Tommy was a guest on Flint's show there, being a musician, so check that out as well. He posted the videos out on YouTube as well as podcasts, and a lot of other great guests. They have local musicians as well.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely check out 561 Music here. That's also taped here at Live Music Community. So 561 Music is Ben Childs and Hector Diaz. They're both local musicians. They do a weekly podcast too, also with musicians here in the studio here. They do a live show. So great. Check them out to support them. Next was I just want to make sure I would give a shout out to the guys over at Drinkin' Bros Sports, tailgate legend. So Eric Tanzi. So he's had a great conversation with him last week. Some great tips. We were sharing about podcast ideas and so forth. He also is Instill Distilling up in North Carolina too. But Drinkin' Bros Sports Tailgate Legends, they got some interesting. I got a pretty cool shout out from them last week on their podcast. So, and lastly, I want to thank Brad Brad Brock. I always refer to Brad as my podcast mentor there to help him kind of give me some ideas, getting us off the ground there, and so forth. We've both been on each other's show. I actually told him today. I said I need to have you back on because his podcast I did with him was a little chaotic, and we did it at Twisted Tuna in Jupiter. It was outside. It was I was still kind of learning the ropes and so forth. So I said I need to have you come back on. But yeah, so check out Jams and Cocktails. Brad's podcast is live on Wednesday nights at 8 o'clock. So he's had The Little Things on. We talked about tonight. A lot of the musicians that Tommy just talked about, including Alex Meixner and Deal James.
Xander.
Yeah.
Sandman
So
Sleeps.
lots of, So a lot of the bands that Tommy had talked about was that he's been doing producing for. So Jams and Cocktails Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. So over on Facebook Live and YouTube and so forth. So check all those out. So again, I want to thank you all. And again, I also want to thank Justin Hucker here, who runs this place here, Live Music Community. So thank you for holding down the fort, getting us all set up. I definitely love just being able to walk in like a rock star and everything's all set up and ready to go, and where I can go sit and have a beverage and so forth. So
He's got all those sound effects in there, right? That he's been doing.
now that's the other package I have to upgrade to. That requires me actually talking to him in advance. Rather than me springing 5 minutes before the show. It's hey, this would be really cool if we did this. He's like, why didn't you? Well, let's talk about this a little bit more in advance. Yes, I know. I told him I suffer from, what was the word I said? Shit.
Procrastination.
No, it's a impulsive creativity.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So it's like, oh, I got an idea and I want to do it now.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry. So, yes, that's what I suffer from. I admit it, and I'm being in therapy for it. So, again, I appreciate everyone. Appreciate Tommy for coming on. Thank you, sir. So,
Thank you so much, Paul.
And great get a chance to talk about drums, and obviously, and then producing and all the local bands as well, and actually sharing a little rum cocktail on there.
Yeah.
So
Delicious.
So,
You could be a bartender.
I was in a past life.
Oh,
Yeah, so
there
I
you
did do a little bit. I'm not official certificate and all that, but.
Yeah.
I do know a few things or two, so, but make sure, have a safe travel. Want to make first, okay?
Oh, I will.
Your travels, yeah. So I know you're getting ready to go on the road. So now I know you got to travel there.
Rev
so,
gum.
Yes,
we're
Rev
good to
gum.
go.
So
Rev gum won't let you fall asleep.
that's almost, I guess, being on, crack or cocaine, right? It's legal. That's why it's not allowed to be sold outside of Texas, maybe, right? So
Surprised they don't have it in Florida.
well, yeah. Well, we got bath salt, so at least we have that, right? All right. So again, I thank you all for tuning in tonight here. So this is Paul with the Backbeats Meets the Spirits. Thanks all.